All right, these are problems 4, 5, and 6 for week 5 discussion. And in these situations, what you're really doing is rearranging the equations because they're not expecting an answer. Like you're not going to get x equals 2 or c equals 2. What you're having to do is rearrange the equations so that it looks like x equals an equation and c will equal an equation. Here, solve for x in terms of y. And it's kind of a funny statement there. And this is not different in what you're going to do with this problem here. Solve for x. For x in terms of y means that you're going to have x equal numbers and the letter y is going to be included on this side of the equation. So that's solving for x in terms of y, because you'll see y over here instead of y equals 3x minus 12. This here is solving for y in terms of x. Okay. Anyway, let's just get to the nuts and bolts of what we're actually going to do with this problem. We have to rearrange this thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to isolate x. So you start by leaving this alone. You want to move this first. The multiplication is last. Move the addition or subtraction. So let's rewrite that over here. We'll start with our solving, and I like to solve vertically. 12. Don't mess with this. Start here. So what we have here is a minus 12, and in order to move this over here, we have to do the opposite function. So we're adding, that means, we're subtracting 12, so then we have to add 12 to render it no longer on this side, because minus 12 plus 12 is 0. Minus 12 plus 12 is 0. But we have to, because it's algebra, whatever we do on this side, we have to do it on this side. So we added 12 on this side, so that means we add 12 on this side, which then becomes y plus 12. This doesn't go anywhere. 3x didn't go anywhere. Bring it down along with your equal sign. So now what we did is we had 3x minus 12. We got that added away. So we added it to the sides, and now we have y plus 12 equals 3x. Well, in order to isolate this x, we now have 3 times x. So we do the opposite of multiplication this time. So we're going to divide 3x by 3. And that cancels 3 because 3 over 3 equals 1. Remember your fraction rules. Any number over itself or divided by itself will simply equal 1. But it's algebra. Whatever you did on this side of the equal sign, you have to do on this side of the equal sign. So we're going to divide this also by 3. So what you have is y plus 12 divided by 3 equals x. This can be simplified further by putting this into 2 separate fractions. And this is also a good habit to get into, because when you simplify later, you will have to do a lot of this. Y over 3 plus 12 over 3 equals x. And what that does is it makes this a 4. But it's y over 3 plus 4. A common mistake is people will just cancel that and go, oh, y plus 4 equals x. That's wrong. And what I mean is, if you do 3 into 12, that's 4, right? But you forget that you also have to divide y in 3. So really what it ends up is this is 4, so it's y over 3 plus 4 equals x. In this case, I will accept y plus 12 over 3 equals x. The stage of algebra that you're in does not necessarily require you right away to go and break it down further. What's really important to take away is this process here. If you have to isolate the x, then remember the steps are you deal with this piece before the multiplication. If you have addition or subtraction, do the opposite of that first. Then do the opposite of the multiplication or division and practice. Alright, so 5g, we're going to take this full equation here and we're going to solve for c. What that means, it's like saying you're writing the equation in terms of g. And whenever they say solve for c, okay, here's the shortcut. You're trying to get the whole thing to say c equals something. That's what you want it to look like in the end. And you have to rearrange all this stuff so that c will equal what is left after you rearrange. So, let's get down to business. We have 5g plus 4c plus 20. So we want to begin. Leave the multiplied terms alone. Let's deal with the plus 20 first. So you're going to want to do the opposite function. We're going to minus the 20 from both sides of the equation. We have equals here, and we're going to 0 minus the 20. Minus 20 is 0. 0 minus 20 is just minus 20. And now this is still there, 5g plus 4c. 5g plus 4c. Our focus is to make the c by itself. So the next thing we're going to work with is this, the 5g, but we're not going to separate it yet. We're going to subtract. I'm going to take the entire 5g and do the opposite, which is subtract it away. That will be 0, and we'll minus 5g from here. If you minus 5g, you can't do anything with it. You just simply have to leave it alone. You have to say that now the equation is negative 20, because that's still there, minus 5g. You can't combine the like terms. You can't really do anything with it. We'll leave it like that. That was subtracted away, so you still have the 4c. So this equal sign kind of got butchered here. So 4c now equals minus 20 minus 5g. We keep going. We have to isolate the c, and it's multiplied by the 4, so we divide by the 4 to remove it. Whatever we do here, we have to do here. Okay, so now we have c equals minus 20 minus 5g over 4. We can simplify this. Remember, if you take the 4 as a denominator under the 20, and you have to also put it under 5g. So if we were to spread that out, it would equal c equals, and I'm going to put this, but I'm going to separate each piece so it has its own denominator of 4. Minus 20 over 4 minus, because that there is minus, 5g over 4. So this reduces to 5. We have c equal 5 minus 5g over 4. I will accept the answer as c equals negative 20 minus 5g over 4. I can accept the answer stopped at this point. Or you can reduce it further until you have c equals 5 minus 5g over 4. That's all squished up. Okay, so that could be a different type of answer. They mean the same thing. This is more simplified here. As we get further into algebra, you will have to reduce to this point here. Okay, so now we have 4y, and we've got an additional variable. They're saying solve for x, so it's the same as all the other situations. You're rearranging the equation. This one said solve for x. We rearranged so that we had our answer of x equals y plus 12 over 3. That's how we rearranged this equation. Here we ended up with c equals minus 20 minus 5 over 4, which then reduced to here. This one we have to solve for x, so we will end up with an x equals. So we have to begin to rearrange. The first thing you do whenever you see this is do your distributive property. Z times the x, z times the minus 5. So then you'll have zx, and then positive z times negative 5 is minus 5z. And that will be equal to 4y. You just, you're starting to work the problem so you can work with it easier. So our objective here is to get x by itself. We have y on this side, we got an x, we got a z. That x needs to be alone. So what I see is there's a subtraction here that has to be, we have to do the opposite of that. So plus 5z on both sides of the equation. When you add 5z to 4y, you can't really do much with it, so you just simply say 4y plus 5z. This is tricky. Make sure you make your z's really obvious. If you get mixed up along the way during this problem and you end up with 2's, it really messes you up. Okay, so we're working to get the x by itself, so we divide both sides of the equation, because this is multiplied, we divide by z. And that whole thing becomes divided by z. To simplify further, and I'm running out of room, so I am going to erase this. Let me just select delete. And I'm going to move this equation. We're going to solve this equation. If we simplify this further, what we're going to have is, of course, the z over the z cancels. So we're going to have x equal, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to move 4y over the z. So we have 4y just over the z. And we're going to say plus 5z over the z. And the z's are getting weirder. So what we can do here to simplify even further is just cancel the z over z. So you have 4y over z, that is not a 2, plus 5. That is the most simplified form of this equation. So 4y plus 5 over z equals x. So we solved for x because we have something that says x equals. Okay, I have to stop.